Hello, friends. Welcome to Level Up with Debbie Neal. I am your host. There is nowhere I would rather be than right here, right now with you. This podcast is all about leveling up in all aspects of our lives. Thank you for being here. I am so grateful. I'm excited to be on this journey with you. Together, we are leveling up. You ready? Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Level Up with Debbie Neal. I have a treat for all of you. I have a treat for myself, and I have a treat for all of you. We don't have a lot of guests on our show, but I know that when we do have guests, you guys are kind of really excited about it because I pick and choose them so selectively because I know they're just a gift to all of you. So you guys are really in store for somebody very special. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about Carleeta, but I'm gonna tell you why I love Carleeta and why I have invited her on this podcast to just share not only her wisdom and leadership, but this is a woman that I look up to as a role model, the way she parents, as a role model in marriage, in a role model in the way she lives her life like Jesus. Like she is somebody that I aspire to be like in every realm of her area in her life. And even before we got on this, Chase, who runs my podcast, he was like, "Oh, you need to remove the jewelry." And I was like, "No, Carleeta, just like me, I leave all my jewelry on. It's fine. We sleep with it." And she's like, "Oh, no, I could tell you why. I don't do that anymore." I'm like, "Oh, dear Lord. It's another area of my life that I need to learn from Carleeta because I'm going to bed with my David Yurmans and it's a big bracelet. So I'm going to learn about that after today's podcast. So let me start with saying this. Carleeta is a top leader in the same company that I am with. We're both in the network marketing profession. Now, I have been with my company. We are approaching 20 years. And you guys know I talk about this all the time, like your circle of influence, the people you look up to. And so when I started my business, I knew nothing about my company. I knew nothing about the industry. I went to my very first big conference. Because of my efforts and so many of the reasons, I was at the top of my company and I kind of walked into that arena. I was very young in my leadership, a little ego going on there, thinking, look at the accolades, look what I've done. And then I saw people like Carleeta, who we might have had the same title, but there was such a different level of income. There was such a different level of wisdom. There was such a different level of experience. And I remember seeing her up on that stage, and it humbled me in the most graceful way and reminded me how much work. This was not the beginning. This was not a destination. It was really the beginning of my journey. And I remember thinking at that point, I don't know who this woman is, but she's going to be my friend. And we also talk about this on the podcast. It's not like we earn friendships. It's not like I had to succeed to earn Carleeta's friendship. But what happens is it's proximity, the law of proximity. So what happens is I continue to work my business and earn different things. And whether I was invited to home office or earn trips, I had the opportunity and the privilege to sit in her presence and sit at her feet and learn from her. So I had such a massive respect for the people that went before me. And I have to say, there's a very small handful of people that I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to be my friends. And Carleeta Nelson is one of those people. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of an intro and I'm going to turn it over to her because I just want you to start. We're going to go back and forth and have a lot of fun today with whether it's leadership, entrepreneurship, living like Jesus, loving people better. If you're in the network marketing profession, you've got a top leader here with so much wisdom. But even if you're not in the network marketing profession, leadership is leadership. Entrepreneurship is entrepreneurship. And the things we talk about, like always, are going to apply to everybody in their life. So Carleeta Nelson is married. She is married to Philip, and they will be celebrating 40 years. And so a lot of you guys kind of know my journey a little bit. Carleeta Nelson is somebody that I've just always gone to for wisdom, for advice. And no matter what it is in life, it's like, go to somebody who's doing it better than you. And those are the people like you want to learn from. So she is the mama of 2. She has 4 grandbabies. Prior to her being in the network marketing professional, she was a nurse practitioner for 14 years. And when she started in this business, we're going to talk about this a little bit today, but we think, oh, people, I'm too busy. Juggling 2 children, a lot of sports, a lot of activities, and also full-time nursing for 1.5 years, continued to work full-time and build her business. So Carleeta, Carleeta grew to the top in, we always say you could go to our earnings statement the way all of you do in this profession. So her results are anything but typical, but she's anything but typical. That's why I love her so much. She's anything but typical. And so I would love for you to just share your story today. Just we'll start there. And then I've got some, I don't know, fun questions that I want to go back and forth with. So thank you for being here. You inspire me to be better.
Thank you, Debbie. I love you with all of my heart, and you are one of the miracles that came out of this journey that I get to do with you in the same company that we get to so proudly represent. So I am so humbled to be able to be a guest on your call because I listen to you and share you with my world, but to be able to be a part of it, truly, I have chills right now just thinking, wow, how did I get here? But I do know how. And it has been a journey of spending precious time together and having this kind of relationship that allows us to know each other well enough that we can decide that this is somebody I would like to share with my world. And we share each other, both ways. It's not just a one-way street, I promise you. And everybody knows and loves Debbie. But I want to go back probably even further than Debbie may want me to go back, because I'm going to go back to my childhood. And I'm going to let people know like how I started, because more than anything, I want to give people hope in this call that whatever life looks like for you in this season that you're in, wherever you're at, it doesn't have to stay that way for you if you are willing to do something different to make that happen. And as a little girl, I was so blessed to have an amazing family that was just, I say, rich in love, but we were so poor financially that it would probably blow some people's minds. And people that know me today, they don't know that part of my story, a lot of them. And we literally lived in a house that didn't have a back door. I mean, I can see it in my eyes right now that there was a big blanket that my mom nailed up with nails over the back of the opening where the door should be. And there were big blocks, cinder blocks that she set on the bottom to keep the wind and the cold from blowing in as much as we could, and kind of made a blanket door. And then our carpet in our living room, which was the only room that had a little space heater in it, was multicolored because we got it at what my grandma would call the country store, which was also known as the dump, that we would go scrounge around in and find treasures that were still great and could be used. And that's what we did. We carpeted our house with these little carpet squares. And I played lots of games and had little cities for each color and made it fun. But I think that is part of what my dad was a mechanic, and he had cars everywhere, junk cars, because he would pull parts. He was the original pull apart, company, and he would pull parts to fix other vehicles. And so whenever the school bus would drop us off, the kids on the bus would yell out the window to me and my sister, "See you later, junkyard babes." And you're going to hear things from people in your life, and you get to decide what it does to you or for you. And I was the younger sister, and I'm so grateful for my older sister, who makes me want to cry right now. But whenever I would feel a little down or embarrassed that that's where we lived and that's what they were calling us, my sister would put her arm around me and she would say, "At least we're not a junkyard dog. They're calling us a babe." And then we'd kind of laugh about it, and we'd go home to our loving family, and we would make the best of it. And learning how to be grateful. That statement that she said to me, she probably doesn't even know how powerful it was, that she was teaching me to be grateful, even in that hard moment as a little girl, that I was not a dog, I was a babe. And that was how my whole life just was. My mom had this treasure chest that at the end of the bed, that if we ever got any extra money, we would go sometimes to the secondhand store, or sometimes even Walmart, buy brand new, and we would get a little treasure, a pretty, as she would call it. And she would take us home, and we would sit at the end of the bed and open that treasure chest that was a hutch that looked literally like a treasure chest. And she would tell us that we were going to store all these treasures because someday we were going to get to have a pretty home. And when we got that home, we would take these and we would decorate it and make it pretty. And she gave us vision. I mean, Debbie, I know you're massive in vision. And I'm like, this is what we can do no matter what situation you're in for people. And I hope that's what everyone does try to do, instead of feed the negativity or the depression that everyone could be in because of the situation. And I remember us getting the pretty house, which still was not a great house by the world standards, but for us, it was like a mansion. And it was amazing. And so that was how my childhood was. No one in my family had ever gone to college. But my parents, even though I knew at 5 I wanted to be a nurse because I had this heart and this passion to just help people. That was how God wired me. And I thought I would have liked to have been a doctor. And I thank God, nothing against doctors. I love them. We need them. But I'm so glad I did not go that route. I just didn't have the belief that I could be a doctor. I thought I could only do nursing because of the financial situation that we were in. And no one knew how to tell me any different because we didn't have that in our family. So and when I graduated, I had to leave this little tiny small town and go to this college on my own. And, I didn't have financial support. I honestly, it's a long story. I'll spare you, but I couldn't even qualify for financial assistance as poor as I was because I there was not the legal paperwork that my parents had done to make that happen. And so I literally was just having to work really hard. I started working in school at 12 at a little restaurant, waiting and cooking and running a restaurant with my sister, and then worked in a small town, but then continued to just work for college. And that's all I've ever known is be grateful, work hard, be grateful, work hard. And that's what I've done. And it's been, I really feel like the magic recipe for success. My son-in-law just sent a message yesterday about gratitude. And I love that that's what seeps into our family and how we are just, it's who we are and what we do because it's the culture that we have built. And I know that as long as my family stays grateful in any situation, we're going to be successful.
2026 is the year you launch your business, the year you transform into an entrepreneur, founder, boss. One powerful move puts the future firmly in your hands. Starting a business with Shopify. Maybe you've got an idea you can't shake, a craft everyone tells you to sell, a store you've already designed in your head. With Shopify, 2026 is when you finally make it happen. Shopify gives you everything you need to sell online and in person. Millions of entrepreneurs have already made this leap, from household names to first-time business owners just getting started. Shopify gives you all the tools to easily build your dream store. Choose from hundreds of beautiful templates that you can customize to match your brand. Marketing is built in too. Create email and social campaigns that reach customers wherever they scroll. As you grow, Shopify grows with you. Handle more orders, expand to new markets, and do it all from the same dashboard. In 2026, stop waiting and start selling with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/levelup. Go to shopify.com/levelup. That's shopify.com/levelup. Hear your first this new year with Shopify by your side.
So that's all the way to college. Went to college. Thank goodness I met my amazing husband, and he helped me financially kind of work through college. We were so poor. The whole plan is people always say, I'm going to go to college, then I'll get married. Well, we were going that path, but he lived separate than me and I wouldn't live with him. And so I tell everybody we got married for financial reasons because it was cheaper to have one property that we were having to try to take care of and finance instead of funding two different places, even though we knew we were going to be together eventually. And we were like, why don't we just go ahead and get married now? And so that's how we got married so young. And it worked. I mean, we just partnered with each other in our marriage for life. And he supported me in everything I did to go to school. He was working and would do side jobs to help pay for it. And like never made me feel bad or guilty. And I didn't get to always go do everything that everybody else got to do that was fun on the weekends and things. I had to say no to a lot of things to say yes to the main thing that I wanted, which was for our life to be better. And I knew if I could get that degree, I thought, man, that degree is going to fix everything. And I'm a fan of degrees. I tell everybody I have 2 of them. But then I graduated and we started having babies and family. And I wanted to have kids and I loved working. And honestly, I knew I wouldn't even be a good stay at home mom if I didn't have something else for me to do as just for me and what I felt like my purpose was bigger outside of being the family. But my heart craved for more time with my baby. But I just kept working and I would always tell I loved my job. I was pediatric advanced practice nurse early in my career. I was the bone marrow transplant and hematology oncology nurse at Children's Hospital in Oklahoma. And then ended up going and flipping to another completely different realm and did primary care pediatrics, went to the hospital, saw newborn babies, their mamas, and helped them raise them up well. And I would walk in the door just grateful that that was what I got to do every single day was help mamas and babies and families, not just moms, but dads, just learn how to be the best version of themselves that they could be and help them feel safe and provided for whenever they would get scared if their kids were sick. And so that's where I felt like, I had it made. But at the same time, I was salary. I had a cap on me. And I will tell you, every time I had a cap on me in any situation, that's whenever I could feel frustration in me build up. And I want people to pay attention to that because sometimes I think people get so frustrated with the job or they complain about a boss or whatever it may be. And I know we're talking entrepreneurship, but you need to know you have an entrepreneurial spirit inside of you if that's how you feel. But the frustration I had is that I now I recognize it was because there was no room for growth. I mean, anytime there was something I could go do, I had every certification you could get. I had every advancement that you could get. I was at the top of the pay levels and scales every time I had a job. But anytime I hit the top and there was no more room for growth, that's whenever I would start getting frustrated with where I was. And I loved my job, but I remember knowing there was nowhere else for me to go unless I wanted to go back to medical school, and that was not an option for me. But I remember literally one day before I discovered the network marketing business that I get to do, I walked in the door one day and I scared myself because I was like, dear goodness, I do not even remember driving here. And it was just so easy for me to do what I was doing every day. And even though my heart loved the people, I did not like having that lid on me. Now, did I think I wanted to go do something different? I literally didn't know there was any other option for me out there. I just thought, this is it. This is as good as it gets. And at the same time, I was doing this job, doing all that I could and being capped with my salary, not just with my personal growth and professional growth being at the top. I was working more than 40 hours a week, but not being able to help our family financially in anything. And as any family, I think, goes, there's always life that happens that makes you need and want more income for your family. Because I would have to look at my husband who worked as an electrical lineman at a utility company in Oklahoma, and he could make overtime and money. And I tell everybody I was the CFO of our family and I'd sit down to pay bills every month. And I was like, honey, if only we had this much more money, you wouldn't have to work overtime this month. But in order for us to pay all our bills, I need this much more money. And he would just look at me and he would partner and go, okay, whatever I got to do, I'll go do it. But honestly, it meant that he turned into a paycheck for our family. He did not get to be the wonderful dad and husband that he is for our family. And that's whenever I was really getting irritable and frustrated with how we were doing life. And it was us, it wasn't anybody else. It was our choices. But I remember thinking, I'm going to end up with regret here. And I am a no regrets person. I'm like, I'm going to do the very best I can. If something doesn't work out, it's not going to be because of me. And in that situation, I knew there was stuff we could do. We just weren't doing it. And I literally remember, I'll spare you the heartache with the kids crying, missing him, and all the things. I mean, it was just miserable. But my son was the one who took it the hardest, and he would cry every morning, cry every night when I'd put him to bed, because I'd tell him, maybe you'll get to see your dad in the morning. And when he wouldn't get to see him in the morning, he would cry. And eventually I just thought, I don't know what else to do. And I picked up the phone and I tell everybody misery loves company. And I called Philip when he was working and probably so tired and hating, not liking that he wasn't with his family either. But I remember telling him, can I just tell you what's happening here at our house? And explain how Blake was in the floor crying and I was crying. And I was like, if this is success, you can have it. And I tell everybody, I was not asking for a divorce. I was just like, okay, I'm done. Something has to change. And that's whenever, back, if you want to take it back 12 years, I was using this product from this amazing company and had been for 12 years. And the lady that I was purchasing from ended up being a neighbor in that neighborhood where we were living. She was the last person that I found to buy from. And she was also the first person to ever offer me the business opportunity that came along with this amazing product that I was loyal to for those 12 years. But she was a stay-at-home mom and I was this advanced practice nurse. And I thought, well, that's a great job for you, but I'm kind of got a different path and profession and all the things. And I just didn't know how the power that it had to change my life. But she was smart. She never gave up on me. I was just talking to her yesterday and just thanking her. And if you have somebody that has helped change your life in any area of your life, tell them thank you, because they need to hear that every now and then and know how grateful you are for them. But I was just thanking her for not giving up on me and continuing to pressure me. And it was pressure that she was applying on me. And because she loved my family and she saw our life and she knew that there was a better way. And so she literally made me go to an event where she knew there was going to be a physician assistant there that does the same kind of thing as me, just a different title. And then there was another nurse there, but there were also so many people from every background. There was corporate America, there were teachers, there were stay-at-home moms, there were hairstylists. I can see all their faces today. And they were all there telling their story. And that's whenever my eyes were opened in this moment where I'm feeling all this in our home. And then I get dragged to this event. And it was, everybody goes, don't you wish you had started 12 years before? And no, I don't. Because you know what, Debbie, this is where I think, and people need to know, you sometimes miss this because you think you already have it made. And I think we think that because we aren't taught how to dream or have any bigger vision than getting that college degree that's going to save my family. And 12 years, I would have just been 2 years into my nursing career. And that's when I started using the product. And I know that I was still thinking nursing's going to be my be all end all. And I needed to go through life and get where I wanted more. I was forced to look at life, but I would just encourage people to start dreaming sooner. You don't have to wait 12 years to figure it out. And that's whenever I came out of that meeting and I was so excited for the hope. I mean, that was like the first time I felt like I had hope and not backed into a corner with nothing left to do or no choice to do it any differently. And the key though for my journey and my success that I've had in our company is that I didn't just see this for myself. That nurse in me, that helper in me, I mean, I saw all those people, different ages, different shapes, different sizes, different backgrounds. And I was like, oh, this could help everybody. And I had such a heart to help. And my family was still in so many ways struggling financially, different people. And I was like, they're good, hardworking people. If they just knew they had a vehicle like this, man, they could go and do anything with this because they're the kind of people that this business was made for. And so I went out and I just started sharing passionately. And as much as I loved our product, I was sharing this business, which is the number one product we have and any network marketing company has. And I was sharing it so passionately that people didn't even know what to believe, but they believed me because my belief was was just wild. And that's how I started this journey here. And it got so successful so fast. I mean, I got to levels that people were like, okay, you've earned the company car. And I'm like, they were like, go get you a car. And I'm like, I don't even know what I did to get a car. I'm not going to go buy a car. And I was like, okay, not getting a car, just doing this, get extra money, helping people. It filled all the needs. I checked all the boxes I had. And then after a few months, I was like, okay, I know what I'm doing. The president was coming into town, was going to do a car presentation for somebody else. And they were like, you should do this with them. And I went and got a car to celebrate with her while she was in town. And I mean, it's been a journey since then, but I don't know if you want me to.
Oh, I got many more questions for you, but I have so many things. I hope you all heard how many lessons were in those stories. And so the first powerful lesson that I really heard, because I know Carleeta not in her young life, but in her professional life. So the stories, the way we were brought up, it impacts all of us. But you can have two people with the exact same circumstances, the exact same life, and two different results, two different lives, different beliefs or limiting beliefs. And so something that I heard which I've known already, but I really want to reiterate it to all of you. Never, even when Carleeta talks to me about her family, and we had the pleasure, we go to Hawaii every year, the top leaders in our company, and then we stayed a couple of extra days, and I just had that quality time with Carleeta. And every time we have alone time, we just get to know more and more and more. Like when you start to really love someone, you just want to know everything about them. Like, just tell me everything. Like what? Because all of those things make us who we are today. Things have the power to make us or break us. And when she shared her family, all she ever said was, I was brought up in a family rich in love, never complained about her childhood, was never a victim of her childhood, never allowed her childhood to be a limiting belief to her potential. So when you hear her say nobody in her family ever went to college, friends, that could be a story that you tell yourself. Nobody in my family ever went to college, so I don't go to college. This is
Mhm,
the way I grew up. I'm never going to rise above this.
mhm,
Her mom had vision. These are our special gifts. These are our treasures that we're going to put in here when we have a pretty house. And so
mhm.
what vision was instilled, and they knew that at some point a pretty house was coming. And so those gifts that Carleeta learned in life play a huge part in her success, but she could also be somebody right now, and I'm not knocking somebody, I'm just gonna say working at Walmart or something, but everybody, I don't mean to knock it, but her life could look very, very different right now because that is her level of belief. And another thing, I've never heard any level of entitlement at all. Like serve people, help people. I know Carleeta personally, so I know one of the reasons why she has the business that she has is that she doesn't arrive. She's always a student. She always wants to learn. She's always very humble. And so often, when we don't make a business about others and we make it about ourselves, the two different results. It could be like, oh my gosh, I earned the award to put towards my car. I'm going to chill versus Carleeta saying, I just have to help more people. I just have to help more people. It's not about that. So I want you to realize that it's the lens in which you look through when you're living your life and you're growing your business. So Carleeta, there's so many things that I want to touch on. I could sit here today with you for 4 hours, but I've jotted some things, and sometimes we might end up looking at those things and then what we're saying just might end up taking us to something else. I want to talk about belief for a minute because I think no matter what we do for a living, it all starts with belief. We have to believe that we can. You became a nurse because you believed that you could. And to your point, you didn't become a doctor, which you're grateful now that you didn't, because what
Mhm.
I heard you say is that you believed you couldn't. Financial limitations, whatever, right? It all comes down to belief. Now, it turns out that that belief served you well. It was probably easier to walk away from being a nurse than being a doctor, right? So God played a big part in that. But yesterday, you and I were talking about a bunch of things, and one of them was belief. And I believe our job as leaders is to pour belief into people and remind them who they are and remind them of what they're capable with. And you might be a listener today saying, I just need a little bit more belief. I don't believe. Well, Carlita said something yesterday I really love. She's like, My job is to, but you either believe or you don't. You either believe or you don't. So what do you want to, there's a lot of people listening today that feel like I just need a little bit more belief, or I need people to believe in me more. And I know one of the things about you and I, we have different journeys. Ultimately, we believed that we could. We needed to work on our belief, but we believed that we could. And we didn't wait for somebody else, although we're both grateful for somebody was bold enough to share this business with me. She didn't mention it. She was, and that's another thing that I heard in what Carleeta was saying. Somebody brought her to a meeting. And when she originally was like, I'm a nurse. Like, why would I do this? That was my impression. Like, I went to college. Why am I going to sell products? I pictured that for somebody who was not qualified the way I was. Mind you, I was going to bed praying for more in my life. So where did I come off? Okay. And so, but somebody believed enough to have the courage to share this with us boldly. But belief plays a big part in our success, but it ultimately starts with us. So, Carlita, anything that you want to add on that? Because I think belief is the magic sauce. I really do.
It is belief is truly it. I mean, I believed and and I shared my different levels of belief and why I ended up doing nursing instead of being a doctor. But I think too, whenever people get into life, we carry sometimes that baggage. And instead of learning how to be grateful for what it did for you, we end up being taking it, like you said, and using it for something different. And you build your belief. You're building your belief. And that's not like I let everybody go, okay, well, just fine. You sit in it. I know everybody has their life before they come into my life, whether it's in my business or my life. I am a fixer. Not everybody loves that about me, but I'm going to listen. And anytime I hear something that I think I might be able to impart some wisdom or some advice on, which is something I have to work and grow on, know when to share it and when they don't really want it, but I want to fix it. And so it's not that I don't want to help people grow their belief, but at the end of the day, what I believe my job is to empower. My life word is empower, and it's just my passion is: empower you as a mom, empower you as a wife, empower you as an entrepreneur, empower. And so I feel like my job, when it boils down to seeing somebody who needs to grow their belief in some area of their life, and primarily it always ends up being belief in ourselves first. And I, instead of just saying you just need to believe, I'm like, what are you doing to change your belief? What are you doing to get yourself out of that situation and that mindset? It goes back to that thing where, are you in a growth mindset or are you in a fixed mindset? Because we all have, me included to this very day, I have the life I built knowing and believing everything I believe up until this point. Anything I want to do past this, I'm going to have to grow me there. And I'm passionate. I passionately believe that when we help people grow their mindset, that the belief and everything that you need for success in every area of your life will automatically come with you. But it's mindset growth that it has to happen. And that's the work. I mean, I had gone and gotten 2 college degrees. And whenever I came into my company, I remember my upline saying, what book are you reading? And I laugh now because I like, where and when do you think I have time to read a book? Because I was working my 50, 60 hours a week. I was the busy mom, running my kids all the places that they needed to go. And I was building this business because of my work ethic at record pace. And I was like, I don't have time to read a book. And I didn't read. And I remember I got to one level in the company and I got stuck there. And what was missing in me was my growth. I was a hard worker. I mean, and I had had some growth on my journey through all that I had been through and what I had to do to get my degrees. But then I had a cap on me that stopped me. And I saw other people in this company growing. I remember one time we were on a trip and I saw a sideline sister of mine, and she was on her lounger with all of her books and her work books and things all laid out on her lounger. And I had the beach volleyball underneath my arm. And I was like, hey, you want to go play volleyball with us? We're going to play beach volleyball. And she's like, no, I'm going to catch up on my personal growth and development. And I remember Debbie literally thinking, oh, That's that stuff I don't need. I already did that when I went to college. I'm going to go play volleyball. And I went and played volleyball. But guess what? I watched that sister of mine go to the top level of this company whenever I was stuck at the level below. And I started thinking, what's wrong with me? What do I need? And whenever I started asking humbly and listening and watching other people, I'm like, I need personal growth. I need to go grow me so I can change my situation. I believed all the things about my company, my products. I even believed in me, but I did not have the capacity to believe big enough to go anywhere I wasn't already at. And that's once I started doing that and learning more, I started believing in myself more as a leader, and that I was just trying to talk people into working hard with me before. As I grew me, I believed and grew myself into a leader who could empower people to know what they were going to need to do to grow more and to do more and have more and be more and and to me live into the purpose. And now I'm so glad that that happened a year into my journey in this business, and that I'm so passionate about helping people know from the very beginning that you will only grow a business as big as you grow yourself. And as you grow yourself, your belief in yourself will grow. And that's the most, oh gosh, it makes me cry, because that's to me the most beautiful part of being a leader and having the privilege of being a leader in this company is watching somebody come in and not believe in themselves, but listening to the wisdom and the coaching that we provide, saying, if you don't do this, you're only going to grow a business as big as you. And it's not anyone, it's not the world or anything about anything else, but it's what you believe you can do. And when you see people dig in and struggle and work to grow outside of who they were when they came in here, it's like watching my kids and my grandkids grow and learning how to walk and fall and then get back up and then take some more steps. And then every time they do it, we cheer for them, we love them, we celebrate them, and they believe that they can get back up and do it again. And that is what the closest analogy that I can give you as a leader in this company is, that it's like watching my babies. When I see these people in my business that God has trusted me with their lives, it's like watching them fall. You know, they trusted you to get up and try to walk, and then they fall. But when you're sitting there and you hold their little face in your hand and you're like, it's okay. You took those steps. Look at what you did. Now let's keep doing this more, or let's tweak this. Let's do that. And they're like, okay, I think I can. And they get up and they stay with you. It breaks my heart when people leave this business or this industry, not just because of what I know they're missing out financially and the flexibility that it can provide for a lifestyle. It breaks my heart because I feel more than anything, it's like them giving up on them and not being willing to go through the growth process that they have to build the belief system that is fortress, as you always say, like a wall that's built around you, that it doesn't matter. I mean, I had a training that I used to do all the time, 10 foot tall and bulletproof. And that's what I love building, helping people build on their journey. I can't build it for them. And that's why I say either they believe or they don't believe, and they're willing to grow their belief. Now, I believe everyone can grow to whatever it is they want to do. I believe that, but I can't make them want to do it. I can only provide a path and a strategy for them to know how to do it. And I do all I can to support that personal growth in people in every area of my life. But in this business as a leader, I feel like it is my responsibility. I feel like it's my calling. And I believe that we are here and get to steward. Everything belongs to my Heavenly Father. And I believe that He's trusted me with these lives, and that I better be doing everything I can to take care of them and steward them well for Him and with Him, and so that they can go on and do whatever it was that His plan and purpose was for their life. And you know what, Debbie? Sometimes it's not always the business that we do. Sometimes you work and you see this growth in people, and you're like, man, you've got it. You're on. You start you seeing them soar in this business. but then they also soar in other areas of their life. And sometimes they soar in a different direction than the one you had. And so many people in leadership, I think, get so frustrated and they go, I just did all this and all those things to try to help this person grow. And then they just quit or they left or whatever. And instead of, I always just think, gosh, I miss them because we're just not going to be doing the same thing that lets us have the connection like you and I have gotten to enjoy together and have time together because I love them. But I'm always just, I sit back and I smile and I'm like, they were here for a season for them to learn how to grow, and it's not the same path. Their plan for their life is not the same path as the one that I have for mine. I won't ever go anywhere or do anything different, but it's okay if they do. And I wish them the very best, but if they ever decide they need to come back home to mama, because that's how I feel, then I would welcome them with open arms and just be super excited to try to help them again at that season in their business. And sometimes they'll call me, they're not in this business, but they'll call and ask for help or advice or wisdom or whatever, not related to the business, but because we've built this kind of mentorship relationship that I get to still be a part of them in that way.
So, one of the things I heard that I love so much, and again, could have changed the path of your success. So, you were at the level beneath the top level. You saw another sideline, personal growth. That person went to the top. Do you know how many people would be like, it's the company, it's the timing, it's the products. Maybe I'm not in the right company. Maybe God is calling me for something else. So my point is most people look outside for external circumstances to blame and to justify. And this is one of my favorite quotes. I don't even know where it came from, but you guys have heard me say it all the time. Those who look on the outside dream, those who look on the inside awaken. And so because Carleeta had the humility to look inside. Why am I not growing? What? Because we are always the common denominator in our business. We play a part in our success. We are the lid that holds us back, our team back, and our future team back. I believe that. And even when you break through that lid, that's good news. You could break through it, but then you're going to come to another lid, right? And just like Carly said, now you have to become the next level of you to go to the next level of your business. So because you did that, your story changed. It could have had a very, very, very different ending. And so that moment to me, I'm hearing the word ownership. You took ownership in your results. You took ownership for your plateau. You took ownership. And ownership can be really powerful if it's used the right way. And I think so many people disempower themselves when they're like, well, like what? Like I remember there was a point in my business, it was 2008. I was 2 years in my business. The world wasn't at a great place. Even our company was going through a lot of companies that happens, right? We're so proud that we've been in business 45 plus years, but companies have ups and downs. And I remember I was at a point where it's like I was growing, like we had insane growth. And I never stopped to look around and say, well, these people aren't. Maybe I should slow down. Like it wasn't in the comparison mind at all. I'm like, I'm responsible for my lane and my lane only. So I'd love you to just touch on ownership for a minute because I think I said it before. One of the things you and I do have in common is I was grateful I was given this opportunity, but I learned nobody owes me anything. I'm grateful for whatever my upline provides. I learned so much from sidelines. You and I buddy up and we do calls. I'm so grateful that my team now has your wisdom and your experience because we do things together, but nobody owes us anything. So ultimately, and even our relationship, we have to take ownership with who I'm very selective with who I spend my personal time with. I won't, it's people who speak life into my business and their business. They speak positively about our company. Again, no company is perfect, but I've never heard a bad word come out of Carlita's mouth about our company. And same with me. And I've gone through some stuff. There's been stuff where Carlita's been my first phone call, but I'm like, it's all going to be good. So what is ownership? What does it do? How empowering is it? And how it has the power to change, I think, our entire future.
It's what you do with it. It's like that quote that says luck is when opportunity meets up with preparation. And that's what always kind of live by is that I'm just always preparing for whatever is next on my in my chapter. And I think in preparing, you need to go, okay, am I sitting in just wallowing in it? And you guys, I know life can be so heavy for people, and there's things that people go through. And I mean, I've been in this company for 23 years now as a business consultant. And man, has life happened in those 23 years. But the one thing that I know is that I stayed grateful for what I knew I could control. And again, it's what I owned that I could manage well myself. And whatever life was exposing me to, sometimes I didn't have control to fix it or make it better. And it would affect me, it was in my head and in my heart about the hard situation was giving me. And I would look at it, and the favorite thing that I love to say is, or the quote, there's a pastor that I love listening to, and his name is Charles Stanley. And he always says, one of his quotes he says is that, do your very, very best and leave all the consequences up to God. And that's kind of how I always just lived my life through those life situations that would go on. And I would look at a situation, I would have to grieve it, deal with it. Yes, I was doing all the things that I could possibly do for that situation. But then at some point, it was out of my control. And then I needed to let go and let God and leave the consequences up to Him. And I will tell you, it always worked out really well, and I learned what I could control and what I couldn't control, which was probably one of the biggest lessons that I ever had in this journey was, thinking that I could help everyone be successful. And that was one of the lessons I had to learn as a person and as a leader, is that I didn't have control over anyone else but me. And that's where I knew that I could do what I could do. And what I could do outside of that situation was that could make my life good was I could keep walking my path and staying focused on what I knew needed to be that I could do to help me, build a more successful business, build a bigger income for our family. But it also helped give me resources in that time to use whatever I needed for the situation that life was dealing with me. So I just always thought, I can't fix anything, but if I keep working on me and keep working on my business, then I can get myself positioned that it will end up being a blessing for other people at the same time. And that's how I always just owned the part that I could own and learned how to let go of what I couldn't do and make sure I was doing everything that I possibly could, but then letting go.
I love that story so much. And that's part of the wisdom that you've really taught me is like, we need to know when to step in, when we can let go, when we can let God. In fact, I'm loving that book that you sent me recently. I read it every single night. I lay my Isaac down, which is, we'll talk deep about that. And it is getting off topic, but seeing that we have now entered into and really started to talk about God a little bit, I really want to talk about a few things because I am a Christian. You are a Christian, and it took me a little bit into my journey to actually realize
Mhm,
how important my faith is in my business.
mhm,
And when I married the two, it's when every single thing changes. And so some of the things that I would love you to talk about is one of the greatest role models that I feel you are in my life is to live more like Jesus, to love people well. You love people really well. And how can we utilize that in building a business? And also, how could we utilize the business to be more like Jesus? Because I think sometimes people think it's it's working, but it's so much more than working. It's serving, it's making a difference, it's empowering people. So I'd love you to touch on the two, which could be like a whole conversation in and of itself.
yeah, and you might have to remind me about one because I'll probably get on one and forget what the other one was. Yes, I mean, I feel like what I love seeing, and your faith is your faith. I mean, Debbie and I are both Christians, but I tell everybody, we're not a Christian company. So whatever your higher power is, as long as it's helping you take focus off of you and the foundation is serving others, then it is what can help support you in this business and on this journey. if you keep that your focus, because everything I do to serve my heavenly Father. And like I said, I believe he's given me stewardship and that I need to be faithful with it, and he has trusted me with it. And so that's how I know that for me and my faith, our faith, the greatest gift we have been given from him is love. And that's where my dad, my sweet dad, was so simple, such a simple man, but man, did he love people well. And, my mom taught me hard work, and I mean, my dad too. They both taught hard work. She taught me vision and hope and all those things. My dad just taught me how to just be grateful for where you were, and you had family and love, and you had it all. You were rich. And I think that's why I thought I was rich all the time, because I was rich in love. But I love it whenever people put their faith in conjunction with this vehicle. Whatever your vehicle is, it really doesn't even have to be entrepreneurship. If you can connect what you do in life, and really it's every role and area of your life, with your faith, and know that you are here ultimately to make a difference in their lives in that way, and helping them become more of who they were meant to be and created to be, then that connects you to your purpose. And I think whenever people can connect whatever you're doing with a higher power and a higher purpose than just making a paycheck or striving for a level, I feel like that's what gets so many people, amazing people that could be so good in this business for the rest of their life. They're so destination and success driven. It's like that book, The Secrets of the World Class. Like, they talk about how we're conditioned to work towards being middle class, upper middle class, higher, whatever the upper class is, upper class, I guess. And this book talks and teaches you that there's another whole class of success, and it's called world class. And this class does not judge success by a title, a position, or income. It is defined by the more successful you become, the more your heart breaks for what is not done. And that's what I always live by with my faith. It's like I pray for God every day to just break my heart for what breaks his, so that even though I am so blessed to live a comfortable lifestyle now, that I would never ever think about slowing down or stopping. I enjoy it, and I think this is a personal growth thing. You have to learn how to be successful, but work it into your life and keep your priorities your priorities. I preach priorities all the time. It's faith, it's family, it's your job outside of whatever entrepreneurial thing you're doing. And then if you have another side gig or entrepreneurial business, then that's where it goes too. But if you keep them in that order, then you are going and you connect it to a purpose, you're going to end up doing more and being more, because it's not for a position, a certain title. But so many people that don't get that and understand that, they get to a top level, and then you feel like, well, there's nowhere else for me to grow. Like I said earlier, like you feel like you get this cap on you and this limit on you, where I've never felt that. I've been at the top of this company and for a long time, but I never feel like there's not anything else for me to do or learn or grow in, because there's always somebody else that I can help, or somebody in my team that is at this level, but they're now ready to grow to this level, and I can help them whenever they're ready. And that's I never tire of this. It never gets boring. I get more excited and more passionate, and I'm more challenged every day in my business. And I can never it kind of I was just talking to a friend that somebody said, well, their husband ended up doing really well, and so they don't really feel like they need to do this business anymore. And that just boggles my mind. I'm like, but number one, you're always better whenever you're in a community that's challenging you and growing you and stuff, unless you get to the point where you're like, I don't want to grow. And it makes me uncomfortable when you talk about growth, and not that we make anybody do anything or we pressure anybody to do anything, but they start feeling that pressure inside of themselves, and it makes them so uncomfortable about having to do anything more than what they've already done, that it's easier sometimes just to quit. And that can happen at any level in this business, from the very, very beginning stages to all the way to the very top of this business. I have seen people just stop working their business, setting it down. And like I said, I celebrate that if they feel called to go in a different direction, you know. But if it's just because it's you don't need it financially anymore, it always makes me a little bit sad or a lot sad because I'm like, I feel like they're missing probably the greatest gift of it is that it's not just a job, it's a part of a purpose. And this, I always say, this is a vehicle that has no limits or boundaries. And I help people in my nursing career, but there were only so many time slots I had in a day to schedule patients. And then I was capped. And I feel so blessed and grateful that this is a vehicle that has no cap on me, no limits to the number of people that I get to help and will always be able to help as long as I never think there's nothing else for me to do here or no other level for me to go to. And what has grown me in this, I because I was so loved, I loving other people is so easy for me. Man, I love people. I'm just like my dad. I love people. But it's so funny because in this business, there's sometimes people that come into your life, and I see people struggle in my team and in relationships because if they have somebody that ends up in your team, because we don't always get to pick our team, it just people come into this business and then they become a part of your organization. And whenever people end up with somebody that their personalities just kind of rub each other the wrong way, they get frustrated instead of thinking of this is how why God. I mean, I always think and it blew my mind whenever I first would run into somebody. It was earlier in my career that like, oh, that person, like when I see him, I don't always just want to run over and give him a hug, which is how I feel about so many people, most people. But then I can see their sweet little faces now. And what I know is that God used those people to grow me where I was thinking, oh, I need to grow these people. I need to help. No, those people helped me be more like Jesus because all Jesus did was love. And and sometimes I have to love people through him and know, look at that person. And I look at those people that rub me the wrong way. And sometimes they're a little hard, or they are for me. And I'm able to look at them through God's eyes because I say that prayer, break my heart for what breaks yours every day. And I look at them and I'm like, what about them and their story and their journey is breaking God's heart? And then, oh, it just breaks my heart whenever I look at what their life has been and how and why they may act the way they do or why they rub me the wrong way. And then it just makes me just want to go wrap them up in a big old hug and love them. And those people I love more in my business because they help me be more like Jesus on my journey than the people that were so easy to love like you, Debbie. And they help me to learn how to love more like Jesus loves, not just love people because they are the yes people in your life or the people that are easy and have the same values or personality or whatever. I love the people that have challenged me. And you find more people in this business because of the vast number of people that we're so blessed to get to steward and do life with. You find more people that will grow you in that than you would in my nursing career. I went to work with the same people in that office every day and I loved them all. We all enjoyed each other and we're grateful to be there with each other. And in this business, man, there have been people that come in and I'm like, whew, God, I'm going to need you to help me love them. But then I end up loving them extra special because whenever you love them like Jesus, they soften and they don't even know it. They think so many people that don't have in anything or in Christian faith, they don't know it, but they're always like, I just feel I like myself better when I'm with you. And I always just kind of smile to myself. And sometimes I even say it. I'm like, it's not me. It's the God in me that you're attracted to. It's the love and that he has that I'm just a vessel and I'm so blessed that I get to be a recipient between you and him because what you're really being attracted to is the Jesus in me. And I don't always have to say it. I just kind of smile and I think, you know what? They like themselves better because I'm just loving them for Jesus. And I get the benefit of being loved back in return.
Do you guys see why I love her so much? Like, and this is actually getting you on an emotional level, the way you love people. And I hope as people listening to this, I have people in my life, in my business, friends who be like, I don't know if this is worth it, or I make enough money, or I don't need more. When we make this business about other people and we make it a purpose and a calling on our lives, that's why you get up again. That's why you keep going. Like, I know that God put this business in my life to challenge me, to grow me, to empower me, but most importantly, to have a ripple effect and help other people really find their God-given potential that's inside of them. It's like kind of finding that game of like, where's Waldo? Like that the little cute guy with the striped shirt and the hat is there, and we're just finding those special qualities that people could see what we see and see themselves through our eyes. So this, I want you guys to hear what a gift this business is. And when we stop working it, we don't just hold ourselves back. You have the potential of having somebody in your life and in your business, or somebody you haven't even met yet, that is going to thank God that they met you. Because of you, there's going to be a story. Because of your leadership, because of your courage, because of your boldness, because of your kindness, because of your belief in them, they have an entirely different life. And when you make something like that your purpose, your why becomes a lot bigger than your why not. So, Carleeta, as much as I could sit here for the next 3 hours, I want to be respectful of your time because you guys did not hear my complete challenge here. My computer actually died. It let out a gigantic gasp and took its last breath. I'm on my phone. I couldn't figure out how to download the app. There was probably a 20-minute gap. Thank goodness I had Carleeta today. She's so patient. But what I would love for you to if you have anything in addition to what I'm going to ask you, but probably your top 3 things you want to leave people with. People who want more. They want more love in their life. They want more success in their life. They want to become that person they're meant to be. 3 tips of just, this is your year to level up. This is your year to become, because every day is a gift. Every day is a gift. And the more time we waste, we look up and another year of our life, our precious life walking this earth is over. And when we wait till we're ready, we're going to be waiting for the rest of our lives.
Don't wait. Yeah. I do want to wrap back to the people that are hard and that you struggle with and stuff. What I am not is I'm not an enabler. And that's what I love when John Maxwell says he was in ministry and he was counseling people, and I won't say it right, but he always says, I'm not a counselor, I'm a coach. But I mean, that's how I feel. I mean, not that I don't love people enough to listen and let them kind of wallow, but like I said, I'm a fixer. And I will listen to people if they're willing to let me help them know what I think they could do better. But I am not gonna, if you come back to me and you have the same story and the same problems, then what have you done to grow in it? And if you've done that, now let's take it to another level and another, learn something new or different. And then, but that's where like the connecting this to your purpose and stuff. Like, I mean, I feel like, and again, it's not to make anyone feel less if this is not what they do, but whenever I do, my life verse is Galatians 6:9, and it's do not grow weary in doing good, for at the right time you will reap a harvest. And when you work hard, in anything, you can feel weary. But when you work with people and you're in a people building position, which honestly, we're all in people building positions, no matter what your role or title or profession is. I mean, if you're in a family, you're building people around you, your kids, you're building. But you can grow weary, you can feel weary. And I always remember it was always like my son, he is one of those people. Like my daughter was super easy for me. My son was the one that was just like me, and we would rub each other more. And yet I love him in such a special way because he made me somebody that I was not before I became his mom. And it was so cute because whenever they would be kids and Philip would be gone working all the overtime and stuff, and Lindsay would know that Blake was just pushing all my buttons and I was feeling frustrated, and she would whisper in my ear, do not grow weary, and she would remind me of what I needed to do and be. And she would say, he's hearing more than you think he is. And that is so true. My son is a processor. He does not want to receive it, but I know he will think about whatever it is that we were talking about. And so that's what I've learned from him. So that's what I just think of with everybody else. But do not grow weary in doing good, because at the right time, you're going to reap a harvest. And that also, I think, well, if I didn't have all of these people, I wouldn't have a harvest. I'd have a little tiny field, not a big, huge purpose. I would have this little tiny purpose. And I'm like, sometimes whenever I feel weary, I talk to Philip sometimes and I'm like, maybe belaboring or moaning or even complaining, maybe whenever I'm not feeling so grateful or feeling a little tired. And I'm like, this and this and this. And then I hear myself say it and I'm ownership of how I'm letting myself feel. And I think, you know what though? Look at the life I have. And yes, it is a blessed life in the financial realm that you see, but it really isn't that I think about. It's the people that I have in my life and the relationships that I get to have in my life, because I have not grown weary in doing good. And I am going to continue to love people, and as many people as he brings my way and trusts me with. And that's the way I feel. I'm like, you trusted me with these people. Man, I better do my very best, because at the end of this journey, and we're not promised tomorrow, I want to be able to hear him say, well done, thy good and faithful servant. Well done. And I love that statement when they say, you won't ever know the ripple of your effect on this earth. But that statement or thought of whenever you get up there and you're meeting your maker for us, and you're looking him face to face and he's holding his child's face in his hands saying, well done, and whenever they talk about he'll turn you around and you'll get to see truly the impact that you had on this world for him, that you showed this world love for him, and what that impact had for those that received it and took it and carried it on. And that we're not even going to know some of those faces that this love that we get to have with this vast number of unlimited people, no cap, no limit, no walls, is going to be able to have whenever we get to turn around and see it.
All
So,
right, I'm going to ask you one more thing.
okay.
We've covered a lot, but sometimes your life, we talked about your life before. We talked about your life just right before you said yes. What are a few of the because of this business? What is Philip doing now? What does your life? Money is not everything. We do not idolize money. It is all about, I know one of the things that you said to me, it's like, we talked about, like, we don't idolize money, but you also want your children to see God's kingdom, right? And that costs money. And so what are some of your, because you persevered, because saying yes is not enough. Like, we could all say yes to this business, but it's saying yes every day. Because you said yes, because you persevered, what are some of the things that I know will inspire people today? Because people do want more choices, more flexibility. Like, the way you travel, Philip now, like, what are some of those things that you could share with people to give them, they can create their own because of,
Mhm.
and build their success?
Man, I know your heart, Debbie, and my heart too. And I just hope that whatever I have shared will just help people, you know, get a stronger backbone and grow and stuff. Because the life that I have, I know I would not have if I had not been able to get out of my own path and trust and be faithful with the one that God put me on. And I thought I was doing what I was supposed to do because it was a noble profession and I was doing so good, but yet and I had to be faithful with that little life that I was so blessed to have then in order for him to be able to give me more. I believe that. And and then I got more, and because I was faithful and I am faithful with more, I am not perfect in it, but I do my best. I look at the life that I have now and I'm like, we would be such a different family if we did not stretch ourselves. All of us. This is a family business, and it took all of us to grow it. Like Philip and I started supporting each other in marriage and life early on, but then as we had kids, everyone had a job, everyone had a role, everyone had to pick up and do something to help us grow as a family, but it was always family focused. And I remember hearing a trainer early on in the network marketing business, and he said, it's funny because I can invite my kids over for dinner and call and say, your dad misses you. Come see me, all the things. But he said, they're always like, Dad, I'm sorry. The kids got this. I'm busy. I've got work. I've got this job or this project I'm working on. He said, but it's so funny because when I and tell them, hey, Dad wants to take you and your family on a 2-week all expense paid vacation, their calendar is all of a sudden completely clear for 2 solid weeks whenever they couldn't spare an evening for dear old dad. And that comment just hit me like a ton of bricks because, I think so many people they make their purpose their family. And then when those kids graduate, they all of a sudden are like, what's my purpose? And so many families struggle in this season of life. And it's one of my passions to try to help people get through that season well, because they make that their purpose instead of knowing there's a bigger purpose outside of their kids. I tell people all the time, your kids are not your purpose. And as much as I love family, but that's where I knew someday my kids were going to grow and hit 18, and then they were not going to, have to be around me or spend time with me. And I remember hearing Andy Stanley and Charles Stanley's son do a training with his wife, and they said that their family goal was to raise their kids to, when they grew up, that they would want to spend time with them and each other as siblings, even when they didn't have to. You're forced to in this world whenever you're young and before they set off and fly in the direction of their dreams. But even after that, you want to build a family that has the kind of relationships that will choose to do this even when they don't have to. And so I just took all those pieces of advice that spoke to my heart and worked to try to find and build the kind of relationships that would want to do that. And it was easy whenever you had your own biological kids, but then you end up, those kids get married, and then you have to build that kind of relationship and trust, in-law children. And at the same time, let them all have their own life, because in interdependence, like Stephen Covey in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, you know, independence and living separate and never connecting with each other isn't the highest level. It's interdependence, where you can be independent and each family is independent, but we love when we get to become interdependent with each other and take a vacation together. Or my son and daughter-in-law are getting ready to move, and we're going to get to go help them move in and be their hands and feet to get them settled into their new place, and from moving states and states and moving away from this family. And so it's having the kind of relationships that want to do that, and without the time. I mean, I remember literally when Philip was working all the overtime and I was working 50, 60 hours a week and just running ragged to keep up with everything the house needed whenever, because he wasn't there to help us do it. I was like, our kids are never going to want to come back and do life with us. And it made me sad because I knew if we did not steward that well, we would end up with only 18 great years. And then we would kind of grieve what we could have had if we had done it better and different. And I wish everybody could look past. I had this whole training on, there's more seasons to your life than the one you're in. And I have these little boxes with all these years of life in blocks going, okay, yes, you're here. It may be going excellent for you here, but are you prepared, and are you set up in your financial situation and your flexibility situation, and in your relationships to have this next boxes of seasons be exactly the way you want it to be as well. And that's what, like, it's vision again. It's like, don't just look at today and what you have today and get yourself so laser focused in on this that you don't get to see what the bigger picture is going to look like when those kids leave, when those kids get married, when those kids have grandbabies, and when your parents, are going to need extra help and support from you. And how do you want all that to look for your life? And I will tell you, because I saw all that, I knew my parents were going to need help and support. My mom lived with us for the last 3 years of her life and died in my home with her family surrounding her. And it was only because we were able to all physically be here and help move her and care for her in those final days. And we didn't have to have her move to an assisted facility because we were her assistants. I wanted that for her and for us. And it was such a gift because my family, my grandkids, her great grandkids got to know her and love her and have a relationship with her because they got that time with her. And Philip is retired, but he's so good because I'm not always big fans of husbands retiring or spouses retiring and not having something for them to do that they love and that they feel purposeful in. And he doesn't feel less than, but we do completely different things for our family. He is a builder. I mean, this is all just terms. It's not like he has a profession in any of it, but he's a builder. He can design and build anything. And I tell everybody he's the smartest person I know because it doesn't matter. He doesn't have a degree, but it doesn't matter what I think of or think up, he will figure out how to do it. He goes to work on his own and he starts studying it and figuring out how to go make that happen. And he works for our family and he is so good. He would never, ever get paid what he was worth financially, but our family benefits from all of his gifts and his talents financially because he builds these things that allow us to go do these fun things together as a family, creating these relationships, creating these memories that will always bring our family back together and hopefully look back on their life with us and what we worked so hard to do for them. And I feel like no matter who you are, you're always, whatever you're doing it for your family, whether you know it or not. And that our kids will look back and be grateful for the parents that they had and all that they saw as work to do and create for our family legacy. And that it will continue to carry on, not just for us, like my parents and what they gave me, but it will be a legacy that goes on and for generations. And we'll have
Carleeta,
generational.
I love you. You're there. I can't imagine that people are not listening and be like, I need to get to work. I want to take myself out back. I want to lovingly slap myself in the face. And we all need to get to work because it's just so inspiring to know what we do is so much bigger than the stories that we create in our head. And we were made for so much more. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today, for giving so much of yourself, for sharing so much of your heart, for touching this on an emotional level for you, and also for being so patient for me. I think you were the perfect guest for my computer to drop dead on today because
Oh,
yeah, you love people well and you love me really, really well. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody. We love you.